Infinity War, if you haven't been keeping track, sequel to the last two Avengers movies.
It's a sequel to all of the Marvel movies up until now.
All, and what I'm really excited about is I'm the kid that grew up reading Infinity Gauntlet with Adam Warlock and the rest of those weird dudes, Thanos, and just going into space. This is when Marvel comic movies start getting weird and they start leaving Earth. They get less street level, which you get to see on Netflix and stuff like that. And they just go into the sky and the Guardians are there and it's going to be great.
Yeah, this is going to be big. This is kind of the follow-up to Avengers being the first time that you got Thor and Hulk and Iron Man and all them to hang out. This is when you get them to hang out with Guardians and Spider-Man and all these other people and Doctor Strange, and it's going to be very exciting.
So what the hell is Peter Dinklage going to play in this movie?
Now, first off, he played Bolivar Trask in Days of Future Past, but that, of course, is the X-Men cinematic universe, which is a different thing entirely.
Yes.
So we're going to go through some characters that it seems possible that Peter Dinklage would be playing. We might be completely off base here. But yeah, Peter Dinklage is a little person, so there are some obvious casting choices that make sense there. Let's start with this one, Puck. Puck is a member of Alpha Flight. Now this is where it gets really interesting. Alpha Flight is typically associated with X-Men because two of the people on that team are mutants. But I did some digging and I couldn't find any definitive ownership rights in terms of whether that goes to Fox or to Marvel Studios. Apparently there has been a mention of Department H, which is the Canadian version of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes.
They mentioned that on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is a Marvel Studios show. So maybe Alpha Flight's going to show up, maybe Puck's going to make an appearance, but I wouldn't really put my money on it because they're kind of a D-list crowd, like maybe Stage 4, Wave 4, whatever the hell they call it.
That's the interesting thing with these characters, as you're going to see us go through this list. They sort of like fall down and dip into one department or another. Either Fox gets them, or they end up under Marvel, Disney.
In a heartbeat, watch a documentary going over the legal proceedings of Fox and Marvel and Disney breaking down who got the rights to which fictional character.
Well, because it's a bunch of like rich old men in suits battling over cartoon characters.
It's like lawyers having an argument that you'd have in a comic shop.
Yeah.
Like, actually, Madam Hydra first appeared in the Wolverine. It's his ex-wife. Anyway.
All right, number 2.
Gremlin. Gremlin is a villain from Hulk. I believe he's the son of the Gargoyle. He's basically a communist genius who is a scary little guy. I feel like this would just almost be kind of a mean waste of casting with Peter Dinklage because he's an awesome actor.
Yeah.
This character also kind of takes the form of Titanium Man, who's sort of an evil Iron Man. I don't know.
He's a weird one. He's a deep-cut, weird character.
Yeah, this seems like somebody they'd be kicking around for like Iron Man 3 maybe, and we're kind of done with Iron Man movies at this point.
Yep.
And he seems like he wouldn't really have a good place in Infinity War, so I don't think that's a safe bet, really. I don't think that's likely. Then, of course, this one gets interesting. The Watcher, if you're unfamiliar, is kind of like, he's kind of God in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
Like, he's this dude who first showed up in Fantastic Four. So, because he is closely tied with Fantastic Four, he is associated with them, and they're owned by Fox. And then again, he's also he's very much a Marvel Universe character. Like, he's a bunch of weird, like, baby-looking dudes who hang out on the moon, and they're like, yes, we're not supposed to interfere, but here are all these different times we interfere with the goings-on of mortals. He's kind of like very, very like Shakespearean character. He's got a lot of weight to him.
What I like about the Watcher is that when he shows up in personified to talk to comic book characters, he's like 3 feet tall. He's a little dude, but then he can also scale himself to hundreds of feet high, like a god. So that's interesting because I don't think we've ever seen like a 400-foot tall Peter Dinklage.
That's true. We haven't, except unless you visited my DeviantArt, in which case, check it out.
I think you just drew him bigger than this.
But yeah, so we've seen little bits and pieces of Marvel going out of the way to get certain characters that they really are married to having in their cinematic universe. So maybe they made a deal with Fox and they're like, hey, are you really going to be doing a Fantastic Four movie anytime soon?
Yep.
Are you going to have the Watcher in it? Because if not, knock it off. Give us the Watcher. That said, moving on, I think this is a very safe bet. MODOK, if you're unfamiliar, is, depending on which age you're reading, it's either mental, mobile, or mechanized organism designed only for killing. That's a great acronym there. There's also MODOT and MODOG. There's a bunch of different MODO variations. But basically, he's the dude who's working at AIM, which is Advanced Intergalactic Mechanics, or I forget what it's called. It's a company that basically they're kind of an evil organization in Iron Man. This guy falls squarely in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, Marvel has the rights to this guy. He has shown up here and there kind of more frequently in comics, which I feel like is always kind of a hint when Marvel's leaning into a character being on the big screen eventually. They want to make people more familiar with him. MODOK's a weird dude. He flies around and shoots lasers at stuff. Does have involvement with the Cosmic Cube, which is related to the Infinity Gems.
Right.
Thanos has stuff to do with that. makes a ton of sense. Again, kind of a weird character to just introduce because he is sort of based on Earth.
And then also like he comes off as a like severely much more vicious looking character than somebody like Peter Dinklage would play.
Yeah,
I think Peter Dinklage has that sort of like smarmy, snarky edge to him that
I think he's also supposed to have a very deep voice.
Yeah,
I believe. Deadpool once said he makes Terrence Stamp sound like Michael Jackson or something. Anyway, finally, this is your big bet. I think this makes a ton of sense. Pip the Troll.
Yeah.
You're more familiar with him than I am. He's kind of a what?
Sure. Well, he's this sort of like imp character that hangs out with Adam Warlock. They have this sort of intergalactic buddy film thing going on. And what I love about this is if you look on the left, that looks like a scene from Game of Thrones that somebody drew weird. You know, like this is really awesome. So Pip the Troll and Adam Warlock basically go into space. They're members of the Infinity Watch. They've got the Infinity Gems, which is that cool glove that has the gems on it. I'm really hoping that plays a big part of the next movie. He's just a really interesting character, and he smokes cigars. He drinks a lot.
Yeah.
He's gross. Like he goes to the bars. Like it's Game of Thrones stuff you've seen right here. So that's why not only do I want to cast him as Pip the Troll, but I have a perfect casting for the Infinity Gauntlet for Adam Warlock. That's Nikolaj Coster-Waldau, which is Jaime Lannister. So we might get a little Game of Thrones reunion in space if my dreams come true.
All right, that's a weird idea, but I'll go for it.
Let's do it. I don't know who wants to. Cersei can play that lady back there.
I am glad to see the Marvel Cinematic Universe growing, and I'm stoked to see Peter Dinklage show up in there.